thought we'd hang out in the weather yard for a few minutes.
My outdoor office.
Yeah, you can't do this December or January. I keep telling you should come out here in December, but he doesn't listen to me. We thought it might be a good idea to talk a little bit about summertime weather. Obviously, when we're talking about December, January, we can't wait for July and August. It's been a decent summer so far.
So far, so good. I mean, when you look at rainfall, since January 1st, we're running about 4 inches below average. And as you know, with summertime precipitation, one lawn or one garden may get a downpour. Next town over misses out. And that's common with summertime precipitation and rainfall. It tends to be very scattered and isolated. So it's kind of a have and have-nots. Some locations in the last couple of weeks have had a lot of downpours and thunder, where other spots not quite as much rain. We still have a little bit of catching up to do, at least in the short term. If you notice in your travels, every now and then you see some brown lawns, so some areas could use a little more rain.
You know, some of those storms you're talking about, we saw hail in some areas
Last week.
Come down, and it looked like big stones just coming down.
I mean,
what causes that?
Well, I tell you what, you get ice, and I talked to the students at school when I stopped by. You get ice falling out of the sky on a hot summer day, but regardless of the time of year, and even during summertime, it's hot near the ground, but 40,000 feet up, where these thunderstorms are towering, the air is well below freezing. So there's that little ice box way up in the sky in the top of the thunderstorm, even though it's hot and humid below. And it's usually the violent thunderstorms that are obviously making the hail.
One of the best things about the ocean state, obviously, is beaches. The water temps, are they warmer than usual? El Nino, El Nina?
Okay, so regionally, our water temperatures along the New England coastline, really the up and down the East Coast, running a little above average. But where hurricanes form in the Atlantic, those water temperatures are running above average as well. So, these storms get their energy from the heat content in the ocean. So the warmer the water, the better chances for hurricanes to develop and to be stronger. And we're seeing temperatures in the Atlantic running a little above average. And it's one reason why we're thinking, the hurricane season may be a little more active based on warmer than average temperatures, not just the New England coast, but the entire East Coast and in the open Atlantic.
You talk about warmer, active, the hurricane season being active. I was just listening to somebody at the beach the other day, and they were talking about, hey, we're in the middle of July and nothing is happening. And I think sometimes, we put our guard down. Really, hurricane season can really kick in September, right?
It does. Climatology says that, August and September is when the peak of the hurricane season is, especially for us. You think about some of our most historic hurricanes. Carol in the 50s, the 1938 hurricane, Bob, which was August 19th, Gloria in September, Sandy in the fall, actually. It's usually August and September when the season starts to peak. We haven't had a real historical storm here during the month of July, but we turn it up come mid to late August, and especially during early September. So don't put your guard down. Things start to ramp up about 4 weeks from now.
And people who remember Oakland Beach and that being Warwick being a great place where all those beach houses were along the water, and they got wiped out by the hurricanes in the 50s. The difference, though, Tony, now with all the technology that you have, you can see those storms coming and how powerful they're going to be before they arrive. I
mean, with the advances of Doppler radar, especially weather satellite, and computer technology, what we call numerical weather forecasting, we've made big leaps. It's never, as you know, 100% exact science. You will remind me of that sometimes. But we've come a long way as far as predicting hurricane strength and track, and giving enough lead time for people to pack up and leave if they have to. And with each storm, like a Katrina or an Andrew, those are historical hurricanes, billion-dollar hurricanes that have struck the United States. FEMA and emergency agencies learn from those storms as to what to do, what not to do. So in the future, we're better prepared. So we are a weather-ready nation. We've certainly come a long way.
I know officials are always worried. I remember General Centracchio, when he was on active duty as Adjutant General, he was always worried about people getting complacent. That, I don't live in Narragansett, I live in South Kingstown. I don't live near the water. I don't have to evacuate if they're telling me to. And it's a concern for a lot of officials that we are just too complacent sometimes.
Especially, you don't have to be right on the coast. We are the ocean state, which means we have part of the ocean that cuts right into the middle of Rhode Island. That's Narragansett Bay or Buzzards Bay. So you could be far removed from the ocean and still have devastating flooding. Downtown Providence. Hurricane Carol, 1938 hurricane, the Atlantic Ocean comes into downtown Providence. So it's not just, you have to be down in Narragansett to be concerned. It's really all coastal communities from Narragansett to Providence. River flooding, you live along the Blackstone, the Patuxent. Hurricanes are not just wind, tremendous amounts of rain. So you get freshwater flooding from rain, from river flooding, and then obviously the wind, no matter where you live, is obviously dangerous.
And that's why that hurricane barrier is always being tested in Providence.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, we see this every summer, Tony. You know, the rip currents, someone getting taken out, unfortunately drowning. If you see the waves, whether you're our age, you want to grab a boogie board, you want to go surfing, or just even walking along the water, it can be dangerous. You know, what's your message to people?
Well, first of all, you know, some common sense stuff. Do not swim alone. Swim where there are lifeguards on duty. But you know, rip currents are caused by the waves coming on shore. Now, there are rip currents really every day. Most of the time, they're negligible. They're very weak. But when the surf is starting to increase, that rip current risk increases as well. So it's a very narrow current, anywhere from maybe 20 to 80 feet wide. And as the waves come in, a current is created where it pulls objects like swimmers away from the coastline. And your natural instinct is to swim towards shore, but you're swimming into the current. Swim parallel to the coastline. It won't take you long to get out of that narrow current. Then all of a sudden you don't feel that pull anymore, and then you swim back to shore. But always swim with someone, never alone, and always when lifeguards are on duty. Unfortunately, the fatality last week was a swimmer who, around 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, there were no lifeguards on duty and was swimming alone. And
the other thing too is now as we're getting through the summer months, obviously the sun goes down earlier, so it is dark at the beach. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
So, all right. You know, we look forward to this kind of year. The two of us like the heat and humidity.
We do.
So I don't mind it. I know some people don't.
Yeah.
It is not the healthiest thing when the humidity really ramps up for 5-7 days in a row.
You know, you've got to be careful. I mean, a lot of, heat, humidity, temperatures, mid and upper 90s, high humidity. Talking about heat exhaustion and heat stroke. It's a problem for young children and the elderly. So on days like that, be mindful of that. Be mindful of your pets, the heat safety in cars, and just check on the elderly. Some elderly people who live alone, make sure they're cool, make sure they're comfortable, make sure they're staying hydrated. Very simple tips on days when it gets real hot.
For those of you who work outside, our hats off to you for
Yes.
doing all that hard work. Thank you for watching.